Yeah, man.
What's happening, everyone? Welcome back to OdinReactz. Now we've got a special guest here, all the way from America. So please welcome him. His name is Shadiq, also known as Alkemist on YouTube. Do you want to say hello?
What's good, everybody? How's everyone doing? As you said, here all the way from New York City. I'm really excited to get into this interview.
Brilliant. Okay, so what I'm going to do, guys, please, honestly, go and check out his channel. His channel is amazing for reactions. I'm going to drop his link on the comments below on this video. So please go and click on that link and please subscribe to his channel. Okay, so with the first question, what I want to ask is, and I've asked a number of people that have interviewed this already, what is it that got you into YouTube?
Boom, into YouTube. So it's interesting. I have actually had my channel for I think 13, almost 14 years at this point. It started out as just a way for me to like upload just video game things that I was doing in like
Okay,
middle school, just like little things, and then it then translated into, well, I used to do martial arts. So in the process of me doing martial arts, me and my father, we would attend events, record footage for like the different schools that we were friends with and things like that. And then just for the giggles of it, we would edit, play with it, add music, just upload it, just to kind of create that community around the martial arts community, especially here in New York. Support the youth because a lot of them were like kids. And then it then became a way for me to document my own martial arts journey. So I would upload tournaments that I would compete in, and then it became a place again for me to upload video game content. So that was when I started getting into uploading fighting game content, like really getting into it. I kind of developed a community around my content in particular when I used to play Marvel vs. Capcom 3. And then from there, as that game became less and less popular, then my channel kind of went down, and then I started playing Borderlands 2 with one of my friends. We used to live stream that game. We finished it, then went into Borderlands 3, took a little bit of a break, and then here we are essentially. But I've always been listening to UK music. I've been listening to UK music for about 10 years now. So I think 10, I think now it's about to be 11 years now that I think about it. So I always had an interest in it, but I just didn't really have the confidence to sit in front of a camera.
yeah.
There was really an issue to create content, recording, editing, adding music. That wasn't really an issue for me. Like I said, I was doing it since I was about 13, like 12, 13, 14 or so. So that wasn't new to me. Like the upload button wasn't necessarily new, but the sitting in front of a camera, talking about music, that was what was new to me. But no, the real inspiration was, and shout outs to him. I believe he pretty much went and acted from YouTube, but Two Blunt TV. He's from Miami, I think Miami, Florida, either Miami, somewhere in Florida. And I know he was the first reactor I ever saw, especially doing UK music specifically. And it was like, yo, check out this dude. He's from America, just like me, but he's getting into the music. Mind you, I already had a background, I already understood it. So to see somebody who was learning and still had the confidence to get in front of a camera and do it,
Yeah.
over time, I started picking up on other channels, and I was like, you know what? We're in lockdown at this point. I have something I feel like I could offer to this particular space. So I was like, you know what? Let me get a camera and just get straight into it.
Do you know what? A lot of people as well um, wouldn't know. Kind of, it's not a case of like just clicking the button and pressing play for us guys.
Yeah,
It's there's a
yeah,
lot
yeah.
of kind of thinking behind it and also action. We have to create thumbnails, we have to put all
Yep.
our tags in,
Yep.
links, promote it on social media. It takes a lot
Hmm.
of time, a lot of hard work, a lot of energy. I remember when
Yeah.
I first started YouTube, and we've been speaking for a number of months now, haven't we? For
Yeah.
quite
Yeah.
a
It's been a
while.
little while. Yeah.
And I think I was on about 200
Yeah.
subs at the time, and we were
Yeah. I
talking
remember.
back and forward, and you said to me, you said, make sure you don't burn yourself out. That's kind of stuck with me, because when I feel
Yeah.
like I am burning myself out, I'll take a day off or a couple of days,
Yeah.
because then I start kind of feeling, oh, I've got to do a video today,
It's a
just
chore. Yeah. It's a
and
chore. Yeah.
and it doesn't become enjoyable. So sometimes, and what many YouTubers have said, is take a break. Take a break. And going back to what you were saying about gaming, Borderlands 3, I'm a big fan. I love Borderlands.
That's
Um,
dope.
I love 1, love 2, love 3. I'm a gamer
Yeah.
myself, and it's funny because I had a little channel. It only had like 10 subscribers, where I just used to
Hmm.
stream games off the PlayStation.
That's
Um,
dope.
and same as you, really. How you got inspired by a couple of YouTubers that reacted to music. The first one I saw from memory is No Life Shack. From
Ah,
memory is about 4 years ago. No Life Shack when he was reacting to UK music like yourself.
yeah,
Um,
yeah,
is there is there a particular reason? This is one of the questions I wanted to ask. Is there a
yeah,
particular reason why you're only focusing on UK music? And
100%. Yeah, definitely. So the thing for me, what it is for me, so just to give it a little bit more context. So when I was first in college in my undergrad, so for those of you who aren't familiar, the way that the college system works, there's like the associate system. So it's like you go to college for 2 years, you get a degree. Your bachelor's essentially is 4 years, and then that's where most people stop, and you can get your master's, which is what I'm currently doing. Then you can get doctorates, etc. But during my undergrad years, during my 4 year career, I studied computer science and with a double major in Caribbean studies because my family's from the Caribbean. So for me, what was really interesting when I first started getting into UK music before I even made my channel was a friend who's also from the Caribbean. He put me on to the Skepta Tim Westwood freestyle.
yeah,
I'll never forget. That was when he was heavy on the Ed Hardy. Everything was Ed Hardy. I remember that to the T. And then what was interesting to me, it was like, well, look at this. My family's from Trinidad. Your family's from Grenada. His family is from, I forgot what country. So I don't want to misspeak. I want to say Nigeria, but I could be wrong, right? But we have three different countries, right? And then on top of that, Skepta himself living in the UK and his background being from North London, and yet I can understand what he's saying. Like beyond the accent, like just the smaller things, like the nuances and the sentence structure and just the way that he would communicate,
yeah,
just those smaller things. And that to me was like the beginning of an eye opener for me to understand like my place within this diaspora, the Caribbean diaspora and African diaspora as a whole. So that was just like, okay, so this person who's in a completely other country, I can identify with him on a particular level after having never met him, never had a conversation, anything like that. But
yeah,
the music created a way for me to understand his experience and understand that his experience isn't much different than the experiences that a lot of people here
yeah,
in America are having. So then that was like the beginning of it. That was how I started getting into the music. But then as I even started discovering reaction channels specifically, like I said, no, I first landed on Too Blunt. I used to check out his videos, and then after a while, I wasn't really too heavily into the reaction thing in general. But I was watching his channel just boom, like literally within days, he's going from hundreds to thousands of subs,
yeah,
and I was like, yo, that's really dope. And then it really wasn't until so if we're in 21 now, let's say it really wasn't until about, let's say 2019 that I started discovering reaction channels, like that it was an actual thing. Like this is a whole community, it's a culture. There are people who do this, right?
yeah,
And then I believe the first ones that I ever encountered, I want to say were Walks and Lead to the VI from the
yeah,
UK side. And then from the American side, I want to say it was probably Chino Supreme and David B. Wallen. I think it was them. And then I started watching Ride Talk TV, and now it's crazy because we're really cool now. We talk regularly. We have really dope conversation. So it was like, all right. So I see everybody has something that they can offer to this space, whether it just be purely entertainment, whether it be
mhm,
somebody like Walks who's giving you the breakdown of the music from like a science, like the science of the music. Then you have
yes,
somebody like Lee who's breaking down the elements of the music, like the individual verses, what's being said.
yeah,
And I was just like, that this is really dope. Everybody has something that they can give. So I was thinking about it from my perspective. Like over the years, I've had friends who reach out to me like, "Hey, I want to get into UK music. I see you posting it. Where should I start?" I'm like, "Oh, well, what kind of music do you like?" "Oh, I like this. Oh, maybe you should check out this artist." Right? And then just
yeah.
kind of that kind of being the beginning of me understanding that I have a very unique position. Give me a second. Let me plug in one of my lights. Hold on, right?
It's all good.
I just realized I didn't have it plugged in this whole time.
It's all good.
Usually I do that in advance. But yeah, give me a sec. So hopefully it'll stay on for a bit while it's charging. But and if it doesn't, then we'll get through it while it's charging for a little bit. But yeah, so I had friends that would reach out to me. They wanted to get to know a little bit about the culture and then the music and everything. So then I was like, I really have something that I can offer people in terms of my friends, first of all, who are American, who want to learn the music. But for them, the barrier was the language, right? In terms of the
Yeah,
slang, just the overall context of what they're talking about. So I was like, I can really be a strong bridge between these two different worlds that really aren't that different. So that was the overarching, kind of summarize it a little bit more. Like that was the overarching thing. Like I felt like I really do have something to offer within that particular space.
definitely. And like I said to you before the interview, I like the way you break it down. the good thing is with reactions is everyone's reaction is different. You know, so
Yeah.
I couldn't click onto someone else's channel and say, "Oh, he sounds like me," or "He sounds like," you know. That's the
Yeah.
beauty of
Yeah. Yeah.
watching reactions, is that we get to
Yeah.
see what that person thinks, and even if we agree with a
Mm-hmm.
little bit of it, we feel like, well, I feel like anyway. I don't know about yourself, but when I'm watching another reactor, it's like I build some form of connection with regards to the way I think.
Yes.
It's like, yeah, yeah, I
Yes.
understand that. You know, I understand that.
Yeah.
Um, and I respect
I
the
agree.
fact. What I like is that you're you're reacting purely to UK music. I love that. And it's a good
Mm-hmm.
place to start as well with the Skept Tim
Yeah.
Westwood, because that was old school
Mm-hmm.
grime. You know, you
Old
probably already
school.
know
Yeah.
this, but grime stemmed from garage, and Skepta
Yeah.
was one of the
Mm-hmm.
first artists to come around. They say Wiley created
Yeah.
grime, but I feel it's a number of artists that created it, because it wasn't just the artist rapping it; it's, you know, the producers
Yeah.
behind it
There's a
making the
whole culture
beats.
around it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And grime has always been kind of UK's music, I feel, because with drill it
Mm-hmm.
came from America, and then UK kind of adapted their own style. But with grime,
Yeah.
it's UK. So for you to start there, for someone to recommend that, and then to go from there is,
Yeah.
yeah, because I don't know if you've ever seen it, but go and watch Skepta vs Devilman. Have you seen that?
You know what's crazy? I haven't watched it in its entirety, but I've definitely watched like rounds throughout the years. Like, oh, let me watch round one. But
Yeah.
yeah, that's iconic. I guess the main reason why too was to like there were certain references that over time I started picking up were references to that clash. So I was
Yeah.
like, oh, okay. But it's my first Lord of the Mics. Which was the first Lord of the Mics that I watched? The first Lord of the Mics that I watched, I believe it was the one where it was like Trey Mission versus Sox.
Yeah.
Um, who else? I don't remember all the clashes, but I think that was the first one that I was like invested in, you know?
Yeah, Socks is insane.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah. But he's talented, very talented, yeah.
the story behind grime as well is amazing.
Mm-hmm.
Because with grime, it started off in small venues, like little community centers with someone with a tiny
Yeah.
camera. You know, and
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you know the story, if you've seen the interview on GRM Daily, how they started.
Yeah, yeah.
If you haven't watched that, I'd recommend it, because it is amazing. The grind that he went through was absolutely
Yeah.
unbelievable.
It was insane, yeah. You talking about the documentary, right?
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
one of the things that he focused on was, because this is when social media first really started kicking in. I think it was DJ Logan Sama, and
Yeah.
he messaged all of DJ Logan Sama's
Yep. Yeah,
followers
yeah, yeah. I remember that. Yep, I remember that. Yep, I remember
with
that
the.
episode. Yeah.
And do you know what? Like, GRM Daily is, I think it's the biggest, or if not one of the biggest. I think it's the biggest channel in the UK
Yeah.
for promoting UK artists with
Yeah.
regards to grime, rap, and drill.
Mm-hmm.
Press Play Media is coming up now.
Yeah.
Big up Fumes, the engineer, every time.
Mm-hmm.
And but so I know that you focused on UK music and that you came in with Skepta, but what made you kind of look at drill as well? Was there a particular artist or a particular reactor that kind of inspired you to think, do you know what? I'm going to listen to this, because when I first
Mm-hmm.
heard drill, it was like, wow, this is a new sound. You
Yeah.
know, it's nice. It's got a good style to it. So what kind of
Mm-hmm.
made you think, right, I'm going to focus on this too?
You know, it's funny, right? I was having this conversation with I forgot who it was. I believe it was C from CMB Reacts. Shout outs to C. She works for Finesse Forever. Phenomenal person. She produces really good content for them, right? And we were speaking, and I was talking to her, and I was saying how I don't remember the exact moment
Yeah,
that I got into UK drill specifically. But just to dial it back for a quick second, right? Even just talking about grime, because for me, grime is a really big part of this particular story. The
yeah,
thing that really made me love grime, and then which is what helped me understand and appreciate drill, especially UK drill, was the fact that looking at grime as its own genre. Like for example, I don't like hearing people, for example, in America, where anything that has a UK accent, they're calling it grime. Like I understand like they're getting introduced to it too, so but like having to
yeah,
correct that it's a little bit frustrating. But I understand the context, right? But even to even say that grime is UK hip hop, even that's not even necessarily true because UK rap and grime, there's two different, it's just two different sounds. But the thing that I really loved about grime was its parallels to hip hop, right? So for me, being somebody from New York, which is where hip hop was born, and starting to learn and understand the context and the history of hip hop specifically, and again, as a person of Caribbean descent, understand the Caribbean influence and community around hip hop, right? And the fact that hip hop was something that was born out of the African American experience, and on top of that, having the Caribbean influence in the sound and the culture, right? And looking at how specifically the Jamaican sound system culture is such a big part of what influenced hip hop, and at the same time, the Jamaican sound system culture has such a big role in the development of grime and the UK urban music scene in general, right? So seeing how these two completely somewhat unrelated things, how the parallels and the ways in which that they have their foundations established, right? So how the culture of clashing in the UK stems from a similar thing out of Jamaica and Jamaican dancehall and reggae culture, and again, these completely unrelated things in terms of UK hip hop and grime, yet they're so similar in terms of what they mean for their respective, I don't say territories, but for their respective communities. Hip hop being a voice for people to talk about their experience the exact same way that grime was a voice for people to talk about their experience in their own way. So that was the main thing for me that made me love it. And then going into hearing the UK rap and UK hip hop, and then seeing the influences here and there across the American sound, right? But for me, my introduction to drill as a genre was definitely the I Don't Like remix by Chief Keef. I remember that very vividly. I was in 10th grade. I had a group of friends and we would talk about music all the time. And then the Don't Like remix dropped. And I didn't know who Chief Keef was. And some of my friends did, but I recognized the artist on the remix. Kanye was involved in that, Pusha T. So those are artists who we talked about a lot, and artists who I was invested in musically. So that introduced me to Chief Keef and drill as a general sound. But I wasn't really too much of a fan of it. It wasn't my particular sound, but it became more of a prominent thing in my mind in terms of recognizing that it exists. And then I really think, and I could be wrong, but I really think that my introduction to UK drill might have been 6-7 Let's Lurk. I'm not 100% sure if it was because I heard Man's Not Hot and I recognized the context of what he was talking about, what it was a parody of, and then I looked up what the beat was, or if I had already heard 6-7 Let's Lurk because I already knew of gigs, so I heard the song and then I recognized the beat. I don't know which one was first. It's a case of chicken or the egg, but that was when I really started paying attention to UK drill. I think the very first song that made me say, all right, was Luke Cage, M24 and Sticks. That's that one.
Cold.
Yo, yeah. that one right there is definitely one of my personal favorite UK drill songs in general. And then that one was what I clicked that, and then I started seeing the recommendeds. Then those certain songs are popping up, and then I see the reaction. What reaction? What's the reaction? People are aside again from when Two Blunt used to do it. I didn't realize how much of a culture there was around it, and then, like I said, from there, that's when I landed on all those other channels.
I like going back to what you said with regards to music having a goal, a voice for people to be heard. And I've discussed this a few times with other people on interviews, going back to hip hop, starting in the late 80s in America. That was their way of expressing, how they felt and how it was rejected in the beginning. Now look at rap. It's commercialized, it's sold, and they are making billions worldwide. And there's so many iconic figures. Now with drill, the same thing is happening. If you look on Press Play Media's channel, there was a video released, Fumes, that said that the artists that are dropping music on the plugged-ins, the videos are being removed, right?
Yeah.
Because they're talking about certain things they say are dangerous. Now, for me, I think it's going to come to a point, because with drill now, it's coming onto the radios. It's being played on the mainstream medias. It's becoming more socially accepted. You give it 2 years, and drill is going to be massive. It's big now, but I think it's going to be even bigger. And what a lot of
Hmm.
people don't realize, and this I say this in a lot of my videos, I say this in a lot. I say this is what these kids are going through now. You
Yep.
know, this is what these young artists are going through now, or have been through, or have had friends that have been through this, and they're making
Yep.
music. They're trying to make something better of themselves. They're trying to make a
Yep.
future, a life. They're trying to grow as people, and the only way they know how to do that is make music, and they're good at it. So
Yep.
why try and
Yep.
stop them? The police are looking at them and saying they shouldn't be saying this and that, but they aren't
Yep.
out there. Some of them are, but a
Mhm.
lot of them aren't out there, still in the gangs doing what they were doing before, or you know, these experiences that they've had is how is that different from Tupac? How is that different from Notorious
Exactly.
B.I.G.? How is that
Exactly.
different from these hip hop
Exactly.
legends? Why
Exactly.
why stop them? Some of these kids are 15, 16. Dave
Exactly.
came around in UK rap when he was 15,
Hmm.
you know,
Hmm.
and he's been respected by Drake. He's been picked up by Drake and brought on stage by Drake,
Hmm.
and is now an icon. So
Yep.
why do this with the drill artists? You know, why do this with any artist? Let them do their own bloody thing. You know,
Yep.
if they've done something
Yep.
in the criminal system that's illegal, then yeah, arrest them.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
what's music got to
Uh-huh.
do with that? There's no law to say that you can't
Yep.
say this. You're
Yep.
taking someone's freedom of speech away. You know, a lot of artists, I feel, is their music is their way of therapy. You know, it's
Yes.
their outlet. It's their way of
Yes.
getting everything out on a track, and they're
Yep.
the best tracks because they're the story ones.
I
So
agree.
going
I
to what
agree.
you were saying about the voice, I can wholeheartedly agree with you on that one. You know, I'm
Hmm.
the same as you as well on drill. I'm not too sure the chicken or the egg thing. I don't know
Yeah.
when drill the first reaction happened, but M24 it was mad because you'd think me being from the UK, I I heard his first track straight away. No, I came across one of his big songs and then listened to all these other songs.
Mm.
And it's
Yeah.
funny, isn't it, how all these genres, drill, grime, rap, how they all kind of interlace with each other
Yep.
is other people speaking out, you know.
Hmm.
And that's kind of what inspires me to kind of focus on this music because there's a lot of young people out there that need inspiration. I feel right now.
I
Um,
agree.
Next question would be, um, congratulations, by the way, on 10,000 subscribers. That's
Thank you. I appreciate
amazing.
it.
That's
Thank
amazing.
you.
Um, Again, guys, don't forget to subscribe to his channel. I'll drop it in the comments. Um, but yeah, the next question would be, what is your long-term goal with YouTube? Will you be focusing purely on reactions? Do you want to kind of include other things? Because of course now I'm interviewing you. I want to try and cover interviews because I love
Yeah.
talking to people and finding out other things about them. So I want to try and include an interview slash podcasting as well as reactions.
Yeah.
Is there
Yeah.
something else that you want to do alongside your reactions?
1000%. So it ties into what we were just talking about. But for me, in my mind, I always knew that the reactions was not gonna be, or rather, they weren't gonna be the only thing that I was gonna do. I knew that that was a part of my plan from the beginning.
Yeah,
The reactions served as a way for me to one talk about something that I already had a particular set of I don't want to say expertise, but I had background and context in it, right? I understood
of
the
course.
music. It was an opportunity for me to get practice in terms of being in front of a camera, learning about light and sound and all these different things. You know, learning how to edit, you know, through more modern software, all those things. I was already a graphic designer. I've been doing graphic design for pretty much as long as I've been editing videos. So I've been doing it since about middle school as well. So for me, I always knew that I wanted my platform to be something educational in general.
Yes.
So I knew from day one that I wanted to create videos about graphic design, about video editing, things like that. Because the way that I choose to look at it is that for a lot of people, the only thing that's really stopping them is just that initial boundary. So for
Mm.
me, it was relatively easy for me to get into it because I already had the experience opening certain software and doing certain things. I've used so many different kinds of software, right? So I could pick up new programs relatively easily. So for me, I know that I want to be that entry point for people to just learn the nitty gritty, barest of minimums in order to just start learning how to make content. So I know that for a fact. one of my inspirations for that definitely comes from a channel. The name is Logos by Nick, I believe. He's a graphic designer, American graphic designer, and pretty much this whole platform is about him teaching people how to use free software. All the software that I use is free, right? So I wanted to be like that, but more specifically within the context of content creation. So like not just graphic design, because I just refer you to his channel, or even another American, his name is Sesso, his channel is Sesso HQ, right? He does graphic design, but more specifically within the niche of like the esports space. So like I knew that I wanted to do tutorial based kind of content, but more specifically it's like how to make a thumbnail, like how to actually how to place things the right way within thumbnails, how to make your own logo for your channel, like learning about channel branding. I'm studying branding right now in my master's program, right? My master's program is in branding and communications. So that then translating the things that I'm learning into that. So I already knew that in general, the overarching thing that's gonna be the theme for my channel is definitely gonna be education, learning, right? So whether it be about music, right? And then through the music, that then gives me an opportunity to talk about culture, to talk about history, to talk about sociology, talk about psychology, right? Talk about all these things through the lens of music. So I know, like for me, I'm 1000%. I'm gonna start expanding into interviews. I already have a couple of interviews lined up. I already started talking to some people about it. Some artists, some other content creators. I know I definitely want to do that. Long before even the YouTube thing, I've had friends who tell me like, "Yo," and this is like for my friends who know me personally, like, "Yo, you need to write a book. You need to start a podcast." Just some things that I say outside of the context of YouTube and music, just the way that I articulate certain ideas. That's things that people are asking of me. I actually just had a friend yesterday send me a DM saying like, "Yo, you have to start a podcast. You have to expand." Just for something completely unrelated to music that I had posted. So that's definitely in my purview as well. But yeah, so definitely the graphic design, just the content creation, kind of tutorials, interviews. I definitely want to do more kind of talking head videos, but I think those are probably going to be more in line with music. It's like talking about, so for example, the big hot topic right now, which what we were just talking about, is like, oh, well, does drill influence violence and all those things? So I know one of the very first projects that I ever did that kind of gave me an opportunity to start that was my reaction to BLM by OFB. I actually recorded my review part of the reaction the morning after, because I sat down and I crafted out everything that I wanted to say. That's kind of talking about that. So I know I want to have more specific conversations around drill, and then also kind of diving more into the cultural aspect, like talking about certain artists and like their influences, things like that. So I know I'm definitely going to be expanding into having those kinds of conversations without a doubt.
I love that because I think as well, like for a lot of people, for me, I can only see from my perspective, it was quite scary
Yeah,
because I was thinking, oh, it might get less views, it's going to drop. But for me
yeah,
personally, a lot of things kind of intermingle, So,
yes,
for example, um, a lot of reaction channels at one point start to branch out into podcasts. They start to
yes,
branch out into gaming videos.
yes.
Everyone watches gaming videos. Everyone watches podcasts and interviews. Everyone
Hmm.
watches reaction channels. So for me, to include all them things into one thing or one of them
Yep,
elements into another one, it's only going to help you, right?
yep, a
It's a,
1000%. I agree.
you
I
know.
agree. Yep, I agree.
Do you have any inspirations? So any people that kind of, I don't know, that you look up to kind of keep you motivated, whether it's somebody inside or outside of YouTube. I'm quite interested in
Um,
that one.
Not necessarily. There's certain questions that people ask, like relatively common questions. Oh, what's your favorite color? Like those kind of questions that
Yeah,
people typically have like their quick answers for. And I feel like that's one of those questions, but that's one of those that I don't really have an answer for. It's like a lot of those kinds of questions, like people ask me certain things. Like I don't really think in that way
yeah,
personally. I feel like there are probably people who inspire me just through conversation or just
yeah,
like indirectly, but they don't occupy a particular space in my mind as inspiration. Like that's not a label I associate with them. You know what I mean? I think my biggest inspiration or motivation is just my peers, just talking to other reactors, talking to
yeah.
my friends, hearing what other people what they want to do. A big thing for me is just like I just like being in a space where I can help people. Like
Mm,
outside of YouTube, that's a big part of who I am and what I do,
yes.
and just making things happen. That's how I got the name Alchemist. I got that name from my fraternity brothers, and just the way that I make things happen. Like that's the reason why they named me that. So for me, it's just having those conversations and just seeing what other people are doing. That's my inspiration, honestly. Just opening YouTube every day and where a different recommended video pops up, and I'm seeing how somebody approaches making content. Like whether it be one video or that person's whole channel, like that's an inspiration in a way. Like my friends who they have really big dreams or things that they really want to do,
Yeah.
like they're daring to have aspirations for themselves. Those are my inspirations. So I don't really think about individual people like in terms of historical figures or like high profile individuals. I don't really see anybody in that way. I think everybody can be an inspiration. Everybody can be an inspiration
Yeah.
to me, and I can be inspiring to other people as well, you know? So I think it's just all one big cycle.
I love that. That's great, and I love the meaning behind your name as well, Alchemist.
Mhm. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
How that was picked. That was good.
Yeah, it was given to me by a brother. The context of it, when I asked, he said something along the lines of it represents how I'm able to take anything and make something makes anything new out of it, and it's pretty much turning almost nothing and making something. So that's the overall. That's the gist of it as to how I got the name.
And I've got to ask you this question:
Talk to
if
me.
you had to pick one
Yeah.
artist from the UK, it can
hmm
be grime, it can be rap, it can be drill. Who's your favorite artist?
Right now, without a doubt, my favorite artist is Abracadabra. I can say that confidently.
Yeah.
At one point in time, it was kind of tricky. I feel like there were certain artists that I had all within the same space, but I think right now I can say, you know what? I have to give you two answers. I have to give you two answers. My favorite current artist is Abracadabra. I think my favorite artist of all time as of now, in terms of legend and current, is P Money. P
Yeah, big
Money
up
is,
P
is my
Money.
favorite grime MC. Yeah, that's my favorite. My favorite. And then, but right now it's Abs, and it rotates between Abs and Unknown T. But right now, it definitely I give it to Abs and P Money.
Did you see the clash with Big H and P Money?
Unfortunately,
You
yeah.
got to see
I
that.
actually recently rewatched it too. Yeah, I saw it. I
Yeah,
saw it. It was
yeah.
yeah, it was something.
He made him quit, basically.
Yeah, it's rough, man. It sucks because Big H he's another one of those artists where when you listen to his sets, he's an entertaining and talented
Oh yeah,
musician, you know. But you know, it is what it is. Things happen to people's career. Now, I hope he's doing good. No, I see he hasn't really been active on Twitter or dropping music, but no, at the end of the day, what he has given us has been really good music. So shout outs to Big H.
yeah, definitely. Shout out to Big H, and of course, shout out to P Money. I really
Facts.
enjoyed his.
Mhm.
I can't remember the song that he dropped, but he dropped. It was like 3 songs on one music video. I
While we
did.
wait, yeah, I actually did a reaction to it
Yes.
after. I still have to edit it. It's sitting on my computer. I don't care how long it's gonna take me. I'm gonna sit down and do it because P Money is my favorite artist. But yeah, that was sick. While we wait, EP, yeah,
He's real, and of
sick.
course you've definitely seen the Dot Rotten back and forwards that they had.
Yeah, that
Wow,
was that. Yeah,
that
you
was a
know,
big stand mark, big
yep,
stand
like
mark in the UK scene at the time.
that's a fact. Yeah,
Yeah, so many. It's hard to pick, isn't it? One artist
yeah,
because
yeah,
multiple pop up. You know, a couple of my favorite artists has got to be Dave. Dave.
yeah. I
For,
saw him live in New York, yo. He's Dave is actually to this day my first. So he's my second concert in general. The first one it was for a class. I visited one of my instructors. He's a jazz musician, so I saw his ensemble perform. But aside from that concert, Dave is my first and only concert, especially like in terms of rap, hip hop, etc. And that was a beautiful experience. I'm actually stitched together some of the footage that I haven't uploaded as like a little pseudo kind of vlog kind of a thing, just to kind of document it. But yeah, phenomenal artist.
yeah, I'll keep an eye out for that video. You'll have to DM me.
Yeah,
Yeah,
say no
that
more. I got you. Yeah, yeah,
definitely. Um, with Dave, I'll tell you why he's a standout artist for me and why I think he's been so successful is because of his raw passion and
yeah.
his raw story that goes behind him. You
Yep.
know, I started to pick up on his story. Yes, in Jekyll and I, that was a good song, but most importantly, I'd say the kind of song that stood out for me for real UK rap would be Dave Blackbox. Um,
Yeah. His black box was that was real. Yeah.
and he's talking about his brother and about
Yeah.
certain things, and for a young
Yeah.
kid to go through that 15, 16, very
Yep.
traumatizing, you know, and
Yeah.
a lot to kind of adjust to in his life. And you know what, when I see a statistic and it says this person is likely to get into this kind of environment,
hmm
I hate it
Yeah.
because people like Dave go and show the world that we aren't statistics. You know,
Yeah.
we're all different. Doesn't matter how
Mm-hmm.
young we are, what color skin we are. We're all, you know, we're all different, but we're all the same. If you know what I mean,
Yeah.
we're all
That's a
human.
fact. Yeah.
So for him to have an experience like that and turn it into what he has,
Mm-hmm.
for me is pure inspirational. You know, and with P Money, I forgot when did I first come across P Money. It must have been in one of the ciphers with Big Nasty.
Mm.
On I think it was DJ Spyro's one of DJ Spyro's sets. I think that's when I
Yeah.
first came across him. Um, and he's always had a really good grimy flow. Like
Yeah.
he's always been able to not
Yup.
just clash but make EPs and albums and make
Yep.
good songs. You
Yep.
know, there's a lot of UK artists that kind of stand out. It really is hard to kind of pick one or pick a
Yeah.
handful. Um, but you know what? Like with UK music, I feel it's quite similar to American music as well. Like the rap side of it, it's quite it's quite similar. Um,
Yeah.
Obviously, you can tell that the cultures are a little bit different, but like you said, with regards to voices, it's the same kind of message, isn't it? You know,
Yep.
this is what we've experienced and been through, and this is, you know, what we're doing now. You know, this is
Yeah.
what we're focusing on. I love how you said as well that not one person inspires you, but everybody that you interact with does. I love
Mm-hmm.
that. I love that. That was a really good answer for me. I yeah. Um, that's something that's got me thinking. Um, where would you say you'd like to be in the next 12 months with regards to YouTube? I think the good thing is with you going to college and doing graphics design, that's definitely
Mm-hmm.
showing in your videos. But where would you like to be in the next 12 months with regards to YouTube, with regards to things that you would have accomplished, whether it's a certain subscriber count,
Yeah.
whether it's certain things achieved,
Mm-hmm.
whether it's financially or you know
Yeah.
certain people interviewed or whatever it
Mm-hmm.
is, what would you like to achieve by the end of 2021?
By the end of 2021, so I have a couple like hard number goals versus like some other things. So I know for a fact, no, I definitely want to hit 50K
Yes.
by the end of 21. No, I want to hit 50K. I want to hit 1 million channel views. I think I'm at 700,000. I just checked out today. That blew my mind. You know what I mean? I want to hit 1 million channel views, in terms of like the hard numbers, and I want to have my American audience,
Yes.
I want to see that increase from, I think right now it's somewhere between 6 to 8%. I would like to see that hit anywhere from 10 to 15.
Yeah.
Just as a benchmark, just to show that I'm, that it's increasing. At the end of the day, I'm primarily reviewing UK music, so that's where the audience is going to be. But I would like to see, I would like to see, just that number hit the double digits for America, because America is still my second highest, which is like the place where I get the most views. So it's
Yes.
the UK, then America. So I want to see that hit anywhere between 10 to 15 percent. And then, so that's in terms of the hard numbers. I definitely want to see myself doing more than just reactions in terms of the content that I have. So I want to be able to start uploading those tutorials. It's crazy because I have all kinds of notes already written. It's just kind of getting over the initial hump of just actually sitting down and recording it. I have
Yes.
a lot of notes for all kinds of content written out. So I want to start getting into doing those things, the tutorials, just the conversational pieces, things like that. I want to release more mixes. So one of the things I've got to mention is every once in a while, now I make a mix. Now I open up a program called Audacity. It's a free program. So usually what would happen is I'm listening to a song, maybe there's a similar beat or there's something that's kind of similar about the songs. I'm just like, you know what? I want to see what these two things would sound like with this particular transition or something like that. So I want to start doing more of those mixes. I've released a couple. My most recent one was one with T-Way, T Zando's Fizzler, LZ, and I believe it was YCB is featured on there too. A couple songs, so they have similar beats and things. So I want to do more mixes. But yeah, I think that's the gist of it. 50K, 100 million, 1 million views, 10 to 15% American audience, and just start diversifying my content. Getting it onto regularly scheduled programming. So like Fridays will be one particular thing, etc., etc.
What excites me about YouTube as well is that it seems that when you hit a certain point with regards to subscribers, the subscribers just fly.
Yeah,
You
it,
know,
it it becomes exponential. Yeah, it's kind of crazy. Yeah,
it just
yeah.
you know, because we were earlier talking about walks and Lita the Vi. Big up both,
Facts.
um,
Shout outs to them.
both reactors. I've watched them grow. You know, I haven't been there since right at the beginning when they
Yeah.
dot, but I've been watching them for a couple of years. And soon as they hit 100K, that's when it just
Yeah, they almost had 200 now, both of them.
yeah, and it flew out the window like with
Yeah.
Dan and Kaz,
Yep.
and Dens and
Dens
Rens.
and Rens. Yeah. Yeah.
Um, big up them too, of course. They're on over
Facts.
200,000 subs, both of them.
Yeah, just like that.
You
Yep.
know, so I love what you said about the American market as well. Like for me, that's my plan. Is
Mm.
because for me, I don't just cover UK music.
Yeah, I noticed. That's really dope, by the way. That's a really good direction. I appreciate that.
Yeah, I love and I've always been a big, massive fan of American hip hop, the old school
Hmm.
stuff. The only
Yeah.
artists that I haven't really covered, which is a massive artist, which don't ask me why, is Nas. And I
Mm.
started listening to some of his music. The you know the song about the gun, is it
No, you know what's
Power?
crazy? It's it's interesting, right? I'm a lot more knowledgeable in UK music and UK culture than I am American hip hop. Like, is this sound barrier for me, right?
Yeah,
Like at a certain point in time, music in general, like just the sound, it just doesn't resonate with me. Like old school hip hop, it doesn't resonate. It's not to say that it's bad. I just never personally invested in it. You know what I mean?
yes,
Like there's certain songs that people talk about that I haven't really sat down and like listen. There's certain situations that happen that I just don't really know about now. I had to like start reading about it and things. I'm just not as invested personally. It's nothing against it. It just
yeah.
there's a certain time period where it is not for me. Like I never really got into Nas. This is gonna sound like blasphemy to some people. I never really got into Tupac or Biggie.
Wow.
Like I understand why they're so prominent, but I've never like sat down and listened to their projects. There's songs by them that I know, like I have my favorite songs by them. Like I never really dug into their catalogs and things like that.
And that's quite interesting as well to know, is that like for me, there's certain UK artists that I haven't listened to, you know,
Yeah,
for whatever reason, whether it's I like it or don't. It's just sometimes you just don't come across them, etc., or you're not interested in it.
yeah.
And that's what interests me about music. Like, I covered some Russian rap and some Albanian rap, some French rap. Like the cultures, the music sounds completely different, but it's
Yeah.
very interesting. That's what I find is quite interesting about music across different cultures, is that it's the same kind of flow and beat and everything, but it
Mm-hmm.
sounds completely different. It's quite interesting reacting to
Yeah.
music that you've never heard or an artist that you've never heard,
Yeah.
because it's your
Yeah.
experiencing it, your audience are experiencing it as well. And
Yep.
for me, on them days where you get a nice comment of a YouTube, you know, as a YouTube fan saying, "Oh, I love this video. Please keep it up," can be
Yeah.
enough
Yeah.
to kind of keep you going.
That's a
You know,
fact.
to think, do you know what? I'm going to cover that artist again, or you
Yeah.
know.
Yeah.
So thank you, everyone, tuned into this interview. You know, watching us
Great, thank you.
and listening to our topics that we're talking about. It's really appreciative. My goal for me, and I set myself high benchmarks,
Mm-hmm.
because even if I don't reach that, you know, maybe I fall a little bit under, you
Yeah.
know. But my goal again for the end of 2021 is the same as you, 50K. You know, and
As it should be. Yeah.
it might take I might not get that, you know. I might just get 10K. I don't know. I might get more. I don't know. You know, it's all
Hmm.
dependent on you guys that are watching. But again, I like to set myself a high goal, you know, something to really aim
Yeah.
for and keep me motivated. And do you know
Work.
what? Do you know what, Shadiq? I wish you the best of luck, because I think your content is really good. Your editing is really good, as I've already said. But your character,
Thank
you
you.
know, for me personally, you can have the best thumbnails in the world, you can have the best camera in the world, the best editing. You know, it's not going to get people subscribing more than your character. And that's what I like about your character is the way you break down bars, the way you do videos, and you know the topics that you talk about as well. is very interesting. So I can see you easily hitting that 50K for real, man, at the end of 2021. I wish you all
Thank
the
you.
best.
I appreciate it. Thank you. Yeah, man, set those benchmarks because I remember when it was the summer and I was doing a summer. So I work at a college as well, and I
Yeah,
was creating the summer program for our students, and we were talking about goal setting, and then the person facilitating, they asked us to write down our goals, and then I was like, I'm just write down 10K. I think at the time I was maybe like 3 or 5 or something like that. No, I was less than 5, so I hit 5 in like September. I was like, I'm gonna put 10K for the end of the year. I don't really see it happening, but I put it down, and then as we know, it happened. So sometimes you just
just
gotta speak things into existence, as
yeah,
kind of nonsensical as it could sound sometimes. At the end of the day, if you don't tell it to yourself, nobody else is guaranteed to. So
yes.
same to you, and I wish you the best. I can see it happening, especially with the amount of genres that you're covering, the different people who you're reaching out to, because ultimately you're gonna tap into their audiences when they share. I can see it happening.
Yeah, thank you, man. And again, um, this is the one of the reasons why I wanted to do interviews. More importantly, was to well, there was many reasons. One is to kind of get our communities to know us a little bit better and what
Yeah.
goes on behind the scenes, the hard work, what drives us, motivates us. Because I
Mhm.
feel that when a community knows the individual a little bit more,
Yep.
you feel that you
Yeah.
can personally relate to them a little bit more and tend to kind of
Yeah.
stick around just that little bit more. Like I have fans messaging me personally from personal accounts on Facebook and things, and we just have daily general chats
Yeah.
about usual because that's all we are. We're human beings at the end. We're not
Yeah.
robots. We're not.
Yeah. Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
we're human. You know, and so yeah, I wish you the best of luck. Is
Thank
there
you.
anything that you want to add before we finish the interview? Anything you want to ask or say or anything at all?
Mhm. Um, I guess the one thing I would say, because I do want to start making more content about it, is to all of you listening and watching this, when you're listening to artists make the music, like listen a little bit deeper than just to take in the song, for
Yes.
your own enjoyment. Really listen to what they're telling you about themselves, about what they're feeling, about what they're thinking, and use that as an opportunity to understand the person. That's probably the closest to a conversation you're ever really gonna have with them. So, yeah, while certain artists may be talking about certain things or whatever, really pay attention to the deeper conversation that they're having with you as their audience. That's probably the biggest thing I want everybody to kind of leave here with, if nothing else at all.
For real, man. I came across some. I was honestly, I recommended this to Lita the VI, and I recommend it
Hmm.
to anyone I talk to that loves music. When I first started covering Australian rap, I came across a rapper
Yeah.
called Wombat. He did a song with Devlin,
Uh-huh.
a UK grime artist, and
Yeah.
I came across a rapper, an old school rapper, someone who was a benchmark in the Australian scene called Hunter. Now
Hmm.
Hunter was oh man, his story is you just type Hunter, um, Australian rapper documentary. You should get some clips at least coming up on YouTube. I watched it through
Hmm.
Vimeo, but basically he was a rapper that kind of he drank a lot. He spoke about his life in music, got a big following, and then he realised that what he was doing was kind of you know not benefiting his family's life. So he
Yeah.
continued rapping, but he stopped drinking. He changed his life, and he came down with cancer. Right, this guy is a
Mhm.
legend. He continued to do shows whilst he was on chemotherapy. He started to lose weight, and at one point he looked like a skeleton. But he still
Yeah.
went to shows making music. And do you know what? There were tiny venues at some of these places, but you had people turning up with um, oh, man, brain cancer, um, people with cancer, people just like very terminally ill people to watch his shows because they found him inspiring. But please, honestly, it had me crying. Someone said to me, "You're gonna
Yeah.
cry if you watch the documentary,"
Mm.
and I was like, "I've got to watch this because I'm not
Yeah.
kind of a teary person. It takes a lot for me to cry." And I was tears, tears.
Yeah. Yeah.
It
Yeah.
is a
Yeah.
wonderful documentary, and you as a person, the things that you share on Twitter and things, I think you're gonna love it. I think you're gonna love it. So please check that out. That's the last thing I want to say.
Yeah,
Hunter,
man. It works.
Australian rapper documentary. You'll love it.
dope,
You'll love it.
dope.
Thank you for tuning in, guys. Please go and subscribe to my channel below if you haven't already, and hit the notifications bell. But again, I'll say it once more, if you do want to subscribe to Alkemist, I'm going to drop his channel below. Please go and subscribe. Please go and show him some support, guys. You know, this is the beginning of 2021. We're all going to be working extra hard, dropping these bangers from the UK. You know, there's going to be some good reactions coming out, guys. So take it easy, stay safe, be well, and I'll see you in the next video. Peace.